She was standing at the hotel room door at 7 in the morning, still in pajamas, holding a room service menu and asking Callum what he wanted for breakfast. Like this was a sleepover. Like we weren't on our honeymoon. Like I wasn't lying right there in the bed next to him on what was supposed to be the third morning of our marriage. Callum didn't even flinch. He just sat up, smiled at her, and said, "Get me the eggs." And I lay there staring at the ceiling thinking, if I scream into this pillow right now, would anyone even notice? My husband brought his clingy little sister along on our honeymoon, like it was no big deal. My name is Sutton. I'm 29, I work as a veterinary technician, and about 4 months ago, I married the man I'd been dating for 5 years. His name is Callum. He's 31, works in commercial construction, and he's the most patient, steady, warm-hearted person I've ever known. He's also the most infuriating, because his patience and warmth extend to absolutely everyone around him at all times, including, especially, his 20-year-old sister, Brinley. And that is where this story begins. I need to give you some background, because without it, you'll think Callum is just an idiot. He's not. He's something more complicated than that. Callum and Brinley are 11 years apart. Their parents, Francine and a man named Dale, divorced when Brinley was 6. Dale was the kind of father who promised the world and delivered nothing. He'd cancel weekends, forget birthdays, disappear for months, then show up with some big gift like that erased everything. By the time Brinley was 10, he'd moved out of state entirely, stopped calling, just vanished. Callum was 17 when the divorce happened, and something shifted in him. He told me once, early in our relationship, that he sat with Brinley on their back porch the night Dale left for good, and she asked him, "Is everyone going to leave?" And he said, "I won't. I promise. I'm not going anywhere." He's held that promise for 14 years. He drove her to school when Francine was working doubles. He taught her to ride a bike, helped her with homework, showed up to her school plays. He was more father than brother. And I understood that. I respected it. When we started dating, I knew Brinley was part of the deal, and I was fine with it. She was 15 then, shy and sweet, and she seemed to like me. But as the wedding got closer, things changed. It was subtle at first. Brinley started calling Callum more often, 3, 4 times a day. She'd text during our date nights. She showed up at our apartment twice without warning the month before the wedding, both times when Callum was home and I was at work. She started making little comments that sat under my skin like splinters. "You're going to be so busy with Sutton now. I guess I'll just figure things out on my own." I know married people don't really have time for family anymore. "Mom said you'd probably forget about us once you had a wife." That last one stung. I brought it up to Callum that night. "Did your mom actually say that?" She might have said something like that. She doesn't mean it. "Callum, Brinley told me to my face that you're going to forget about her because of me. That's not nothing." "She's nervous. She's 20 years old and her brother, who's basically been her stand-in dad, is getting married. Give her some grace." Grace. That word came up a lot. I tried. I really did. At the rehearsal dinner, Brinley gave a toast that was less about celebrating our marriage and more about how much Callum meant to her. She talked for 4 minutes about their childhood, about how he'd always been there, about how scared she was of things changing. She cried. Half the room was in tears. And when she sat down, she didn't look at me once. My best friend Davina leaned over and whispered, "Was that a toast or a custody hearing?" I almost choked on my wine. Later that night, while the DJ was playing and everyone was dancing, I found myself standing at the edge of the room, watching Brinley and Callum slow dance together. She had her head on his shoulder, and he was holding her the way a father holds a daughter at prom. And part of me thought, that's sweet. He's a good brother. But another part of me, the part I didn't want to examine, thought, Will there ever be a room where I don't have to share him? Sometimes you convince yourself that a problem will resolve on its own, because facing it means admitting it's bigger than you want it to be. The wedding itself was beautiful. I mean that. Callum cried when he saw me walk down the aisle. We wrote our own vows. My dad danced with me. My mom held my face between her hands and said, "You picked a good one, baby." It was everything I'd imagined. Even Brinley seemed genuinely happy. She hugged me after the ceremony and said, "Welcome to the family, Sutton." And I thought, okay, maybe we turned a corner. Maybe it's going to be fine. Then came the honeymoon. We'd planned a week at a resort, just the two of us. I'd saved for months. I'd requested the time off work back in January. I'd bought new clothes, made a list of things I wanted us to do together. I was so ready. 2 days before we were supposed to leave, Callum came home with a look on his face I'd come to recognize. It was his, "I need to ask you something, and I already know you're not going to like it" face. "So, Brinley's been having a rough time." "Okay." "She's been having panic attacks. She called Mom last night crying. She said she feels like everyone's moving on without her." "That's hard. Is she seeing someone about it?" "She has a therapist, but she missed her last 2 appointments." I waited. I could feel what was coming like a weather front. "She asked if she could come with us, on the trip." I stared at him. "You're not serious." "Just for part of it. She'd have her own room. She wouldn't be with us the whole time. Callum, it's our honeymoon." "I know." "It's our honeymoon. The one trip in our entire lives that is supposed to be just the two of us." "I know, Sutton, but she's really struggling and I can't just—" "Yes, you can. You can say no. You can tell her this isn't the right time and help her find another way to cope." He rubbed the back of his neck. "I already told her she could come." The room went very still. "You already told her?" "She was crying. She was panicking. I didn't know what else to do." "You could have talked to your wife first." He didn't answer. And in that silence, I heard everything I needed to hear. I've learned that it's not the big betrayals that fracture a marriage. It's the small ones, the decisions made without you, that tell you exactly where you stand. I could have put my foot down. I could have said, "Absolutely not. This is non-negotiable." But the thing is, Callum looked genuinely torn. And I could see the ghost of that 17-year-old boy who'd made a promise to a 6-year-old girl on a back porch. So I swallowed my anger and said, "Fine, but she stays in her own room, and we have time alone. Real time, not leftovers. Absolutely, I promise." He broke that promise within 12 hours. The first night, Brinley knocked on our door at 9 p.m. because she couldn't sleep and the room felt weird. She sat on the couch in our suite for 2 hours watching TV while Callum made her tea. Our first night, gone. The second morning was the breakfast incident, her at the door in her pajamas, ordering room service with my husband like I wasn't there. By day 3, she was everywhere. At the pool, at dinner, on the walk along the beach I'd specifically asked Callum to take with me alone. She'd appear 5 minutes in, sandals in hand, saying, "Mind if I join?" And Callum would look at me with those eyes. You know the look. The "please don't make this a thing" look. And I'd clench my jaw and say, "Sure." On the 4th afternoon, I tried one more time. The resort had a restaurant on the top floor with a dress code and a wait list. I'd reserved a table for 2 weeks ago. I put on the dress I'd bought specifically for this trip. I curled my hair. I felt, for the first time all week, like a bride. We made it to the table. We ordered drinks. Callum reached across and took my hand and said, "You look incredible." And for about 12 minutes, I had my husband back. Then his phone buzzed. Brinley. She was feeling weird and didn't want to eat alone. He looked at me. I looked at the candle between us, and I shook my head. Don't you dare. He texted her back. I don't know what he said, but he put the phone away and we finished dinner. It was the only full meal we ate alone the entire trip. I called Davina from the bathroom later that night. I was sitting on the edge of the tub with the shower running so nobody could hear me. I'm going to lose my mind, I whispered. How bad is it? She came to dinner with us last night. She sat between us. Between us, Davina. And Callum let her. Have you talked to him? Every time I try, he tells me she's fragile and I need to be patient. Davina was quiet for a second. Then she said something that surprised me. Sutton, can I say something you might not want to hear? Go ahead. Do you remember when your brother went through his divorce 2 years ago? I blinked. What does Arlo have to do with this? You moved into his apartment for 3 weeks. You called him every day for months after that. You showed up at his work. You brought him meals. You basically ran his life for him because you were terrified he was going to fall apart. That's different. Is it? Arlo was going through a divorce, Davina. He needed me. And Brinley thinks she needs Callum. I'm not saying she's right to crash your honeymoon. I'm saying you know what it feels like to not be able to let go of someone you're afraid of losing. I hung up. Not in anger. I just didn't know what to say. That night, I couldn't sleep. The resort had a small balcony off the lobby that overlooked the water, and I went down around midnight to sit alone. The air was thick and warm, and I could hear the distant sound of music from somewhere down the shore. I sat there with my knees pulled up, trying to sort through the mess in my head. That's when I heard Brinley's voice. She was sitting around the corner, on the phone. I didn't mean to listen, but her voice carried. I know I'm being too much, Mom. I know. She was crying. Quietly, the way people cry when they've been doing it for a long time. But every time I think about going home, I keep thinking he's going to stop calling. Like Dad. He's married now. He has Sutton. He doesn't need me anymore. Francine's voice was tinny through the phone, but I caught fragments. Not the same. Callum loves you. Can't keep doing this. But what if he forgets? What if he just slowly stops? That's what Dad did. He didn't leave all at once. He just faded. And one day he was gone. I pressed my back against the wall and closed my eyes. Sometimes the person you're angriest at is carrying a wound you never bothered to look at. And the reason you didn't look is because you've got the same one. Because Davina was right. I knew exactly what Brinley was feeling. Not the details, but the terror underneath. When Arlo's marriage fell apart, I couldn't stop showing up. I couldn't stop hovering. His ex-wife, Marin, had actually called me once and said, Sutton, you need to give him space. You're suffocating him. And I'd been furious. How dare she tell me how to love my brother? He needed me. I was helping. But I wasn't helping. I was managing my own fear by controlling his crisis. And sitting on that balcony, hearing Brinley say the same things I'd felt 2 years ago, I realized I'd been looking at her like she was a villain, when she was actually a mirror. That didn't make it okay. I want to be clear about that. Bringing yourself on someone's honeymoon because you can't manage your anxiety is not okay. Callum telling her yes without asking me is not okay. None of it was okay. The next morning, I asked Callum to walk with me. Just us. He looked nervous, like he was bracing for a fight. I'm not going to yell at you, I said, but I need you to hear me. Really hear me. Okay. You made a decision about our honeymoon without me. That hurt. Not because I don't care about Brinley, but because it told me that her feelings mattered more to you than mine did in that moment. He started to speak. I held up my hand. But I also need to own something. I've been cold to her. I've been treating her like an intruder instead of like someone who's scared. And I know what that fear feels like, because I've been that person. I did it to Arlo. I was so afraid of losing him that I almost drove away everyone around him. Callum's eyes were wet. I should have asked you first. I know that. You should have. And you need to stop putting me in positions where I'm the bad guy for wanting my own marriage to have space. I will. I'm sorry. I know you are. But sorry doesn't fix the pattern, Callum. You made a promise to Brinley when she was 6, and it was a beautiful promise. But you made a promise to me, too, at an altar, in front of everyone we love. And I need that one to matter just as much. He nodded slowly. We didn't fix everything that morning. We didn't fix everything on that trip. Brinley stayed through the end of the week, and I'd be lying if I said I suddenly became warm and welcoming. I didn't. But I tried to soften. I invited her to coffee one afternoon, just the two of us, and she looked so surprised I thought she might cry. I don't hate you, Brinley, I said. I need you to know that. Sometimes it feels like you do, she said quietly. I know, and I'm sorry for that. But I also need you to understand, what's happening right now isn't sustainable. Callum can be your brother and my husband, but he can't be your whole world. That's not fair to him, and it's not fair to me. She didn't say much after that. She stirred her coffee and looked out the window and said, I know. Just that. I know. Then, after a long pause, she said, I don't want to be like this. I know I'm too much. My therapist says I attach to people because I never processed what happened with my dad. And she's probably right. But knowing why you do something doesn't make it easy to stop. That was the most honest thing she'd ever said to me. I didn't know what to do with it. So I just nodded and let the silence sit between us. We flew home separately. She took an earlier flight. I don't know if that was her choice or Callum's suggestion. We didn't talk about it. Things aren't resolved. Brinley still calls too often. Callum still answers more than he should. Francine still makes passive comments about me pulling Callum away. And I still catch myself building walls when I should be building bridges, and tearing them down when I should be holding firm. I think the hardest kind of growth is the kind that doesn't let you stay angry, because anger is so much simpler than understanding. I'm not the hero of this story. I'm not the villain either. I'm just a woman trying to figure out where the line is between protecting her marriage and making room for the people in it. I don't have a clean ending for you. I wish I did. But I think that's the truest thing I can say. Some stories don't wrap up. They just keep going. And you do the best you can with what you understand so far. So here's my question for you. Have you ever been so sure someone else was the problem, only to realize you were part of it too? What did you do with that? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if this story made you feel something, hit that like button and subscribe. These stories come from a real place, and sharing them with you all keeps me going. See you in the next one.